Things have gotten crazy. What with the new lifestyle and all that. But I've been keeping up with the Toros as much as possible, as much as work allows me to. I'm able to stream the games every now and then at work.
Yeah.
But things could not be better for us. We have made playoff contention for the second year, and what a year we were able to do it as soon as we gained independence. How about that?
And it's funny, and we'll get to it right now. It's funny how there was a lot of people that thought that we were going to crash and burn. It certainly looked like it, right? Because everything felt so rushed and everything. And then you bring in the fact that, in the middle of the season, Ram Patel resigns from the position. So we were pretty much left on a rocky foundation. And somehow, even when things seem as dire as they were, they managed to pull it through at the very last minute, and they managed to pull it through. I want to say hello to Jorge Peña Jr. He says hello from McAllen, Texas. Well, Jorge, welcome back to another episode of the Down in the Valley podcast. Glad to have you back. And of course, Harry Austin is also back. He says, "Evening, Edson." But it's a great day to talk about this. It's a hype week because after 5 years of mediocrity and mismanagement by the Houston Dynamo.
5 long years, I might add.
Oh, definitely. It was because everything was out of our hands, right? Everything was out of the Toros' hands, where we couldn't control our own destiny. And so, you end up seeing that, everything was all about, okay, how are we going to help the Dynamo first team? How many players are they going to take from us? The good players, how many are they going to poach from us? Right? So everything around the Toros revolved around the Houston Dynamo. How do they help the Houston Dynamo? And not how do we, as the team, how do we support our fans that come and support us, right? And that was one of the biggest gripes in these 5 years. What's up, El Presidente? By the way, happy belated birthday to Mike Reyes as well. Hope he had an amazing birthday. Man, all the awesome people have had birthdays in the last couple of weeks.
Don't forget, Mike comes up on Sunday.
Oh, what? You too?
Yep.
Why did you say anything?
27 years old I'll be.
I feel old. That? I feel old now. I just turned 30. But
wow. That's how
anyway,
long we've been out of the loop.
I definitely, man. But honestly, as I continue to saying, it's like now with independence, at least, and we said it in the beginning of the season, we said, at least now with independence, if we trip, it's because we messed up, not because the Dynamo messed up. So if the Toros were successful, well, the Toros front office is to congratulate. But if the Toros crash and burn, we can't blame the Dynamo anymore. It's all on us. And it happened in the last minute. RGVFC returns to the USL Championship playoffs, and they're going up against the best team in the Western Conference, which is Phoenix Rising. But before we talk about the game against Phoenix Rising on Saturday, I really want to talk about the game that happened last Saturday against El Paso Locomotive. It was a game where you were coming in off of 2 wins, right? You needed a win, and we talked about it last week. You needed a win to secure playoffs without having to rely on any other results besides yours. And as the game was about to start, I was looking at the results between New Mexico United and Real Monarchs. And at that time, they were already winning 2-1, which meant that if Real Monarchs lost to New Mexico United, so Mexico United won, pretty much the Toros had to win or they were pretty much eliminated. Cesar, how are you feeling going into this match?
I'm going to be honest. I'm feeling a mix of emotions right now. I mean, this is, it's go time now. This is the round of 16, and we could not have asked for a a more harder match. Coming off of
What about the game against El Paso? How were you feeling going into that particular match, considering the circumstances that New Mexico was winning? Going before our kickoff.
given the fact that New Mexico had won, I felt okay. The pressure's on now. This is the big one. This will determine whether or not we're in playoff contention. But I was shocked at the end result. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, sure, we had come off of 2 wins prior, and given the fact that I don't know if it's a contributing factor that the Real Monarchs are last in the Mountain Division. They still put up a good fight nonetheless. But
Mm-hmm.
given the circumstances, I was shocked at the end of the match, to say the least.
Definitely. I honestly, I thought they were going to draw, because El Paso Locomotive was, at the end of the day, they were going to go all out. From what I was hearing up in the borderlands from Joe Rodriguez, it wasn't 100% official. There was still those rumors that, maybe they might rest some players for the playoffs, and that would have given us the opportunity to win. But at the end of the day, El Paso was El Paso, so it's like I kind of gave them the respect of like, this is the number one team in the Mountain Division. They're gonna try and come and get a result. The Toros, they're gonna have the work cut out for them. So I thought it was gonna be a draw. I never thought it was going to be as big as a win. Like maybe I thought, okay, maybe there's an opportunity to win, but I never thought it was going to be as convincing and as much of a statement win as it actually happened in Saturday. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that particular match. And let's start with the starting lineup for that game. So 4-3-3, something that we have been starting to see from RGVFC, from Wilmer Cabrera in the last couple of matches. You had to have Tyler Derrick on goal. You had Juan Carlos Azócar back as a right back. You had Carter Manley. Let me verify that. I don't know why I'm thinking it might have changed. Okay, so come on. So yeah, you had Carter Manley and Eric Pimentel as your center backs, and then Babukar Jai as your left back. So we continue to go back into having that experiment, and I'm going to continue referring to it as that, an experiment of having Babukar Jai and Juan Carlos Azócar, more offensive-minded players, as your outside backs, which meant to me that Wilmer Cabrera was going for all the marbles. Like it was do or die. What they needed was goals, and having the offensive presence of Azócar and Jai as well was going to hopefully help them generate something out there in the attack. Then you had in the midfield, you had your triplets of Andres Flores, Emilio Icaza, and Rodrigo Lopez. And I mentioned it. I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but I didn't. I know I did kind of talk to Jacob about it during the game, that it seemed like Wilmer Cabrera finally found a way to be able to use all three of those midfielders in the best way possible for this team. And when Andres Flores first came in, Rodrigo Lopez was sacrificed, or you had, at this point, you had James Murphy being sacrificed in favor of Flores and Icaza. Keep in mind that James Murphy is more of a defensive-minded central midfielder, almost like a CDM. Even Juan David Cabezas, he was his experience and his talent level was sacrificed in order to bring in Flores, Icaza, and Rodrigo Lopez. But so far, I feel like it has paid dividends for the Toros in these last couple of matches. You're muted.
definitely the results speak for themselves. I mean, the past 3 games were, you know, again, surprising to say the least. But now that Wilmer Cabrera kind of has an idea, because when was the last time we saw this formation out on the field, right?
It was starting to be a little more consistent in the last couple of games. There were some games where he kind of switched players here and there. I remember, I think last week we talked about against Real Monarchs, he had Roberto Albuquerque back in the starting lineup as a right back. And so, but other than that, the base formation, it was pretty much what he went with. The personnel might have changed, but the base formation, he kind of felt like that 4-3-3 formation was kind of paying dividends for him. And it's kind of like, it's a strange 4-3-3, right? Because we talked about it last week. Up on top, and let's go ahead and talk about our trident up on top. You had Christian Sorto, Jonas Gelberg, and Kyle Edwards, right? So in theory, it is a 4-3-3, but it seemed to be more as a 4-3-2, and then Sorto out on the wing. And the reason I say this is because Lopez, Icaza, and Flores, they tend to stay in the middle. They tend to stay centrally within the field, right? And so does Gelberg and Edwards. They kind of complement each other really, really well. In fact, I asked him about how he's gelled and how Wilmer Cabrera kind of wants them to play with each other. You know, where Gelberg is a little bit farther behind, kind of playing as a number 10 to Kyle Edwards to try to open up the spaces inside the box for Edwards as Gelberg is coming in. You know, he takes the attention away, opens it up for Edwards, and Sorto tends to stay out in the wing, try to find a cross or cut inside and take the shot. It's a strange formation. Because other than that, like I said, there's really nobody out wide unless Azócar comes and runs up through that byline. And this is what surprised me from El Paso. Number one is that El Paso dominated possession. And we'll take a look at the statistics of this game, just so you can see how in reality now, or at least in this game, possession means very little, right? So we're looking at the game statistics. El Paso had 53.5%, but it never felt like that. It never felt like El Paso had most of the ball. Why? Because they didn't have a lot of dangerous opportunities. And we'll get to a little bit later into the graphic that tells me why I say that. And then you had a 52% dual success rate. And let's see what else we got. If you go into the distribution, they had a lot more passes. 604, if I'm not mistaken, that's what it says, compared to 524 from RGV. So they had more possession. They had more touches in the ball. They had 46 long passes compared to 55. Passing accuracy was about the same, 89.9 and 89.7. But crossing accuracy was bad. But here's the kicker, right? If we go
Pun
into
intended.
yes, pun intended. Good job. Good job. If you look, and let me hide the touch map for the Toros. Look at the touch map for Paso Locomotive in this game. Look where most of their touches are. In their own half. Which means they had all of the possession. They had possession of the ball, but they didn't know what to do with it. And when we were recording the Striker Tejas with the guys on the striker, Joe Rodriguez mentioned that to him, El Paso looked very uncomfortable even with possession of the ball. They were losing it. They were losing the ball a lot more than they're usually used to. He says that maybe one of the reasons is obviously the bigger field, which El Paso is not used to. They used to playing the smaller dimensions of Southwest University Park. That could be a factor. But another factor definitely is the defensive, how well the Toros played defensively, how concentrated they were for most of the game. They held El Paso's attacking power of Diego Luna, Leandro Carrijo, Lucho Solignac, which that was a huge surprise for me, how Solignac did nothing. And he was a player that every time he played the Toros was every time he scored. But he did not do anything in this particular match. And of course, they also had Dylan Mares. Dylan Mares, that midfielder. But none of them did anything because they couldn't make their way consistently towards Tyler Derrick and create some danger. The only couple of dangerous plays that El Paso Locomotive created was the goal, obviously, and that was like the 49th minute, in the 52nd minute. And that play where Tyler Derrick got injured. And that's about it. That was about it. Because you look at the shots, they had 7 shots, only 2 of them were on target. Compared to 12 shots from the Toros, 6 of them on target. So they made El Paso Locomotive the best team in the Mountain Division. Once again, they made them look like fools at HEB Park.
And given their track record, that said a lot. But it is playoff time, so who's to say they're going to give the same result against their team that they're facing?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Phoenix Rising. I mean, I think they're pretty much similar. Maybe not in play style, but maybe in like their play level. I think they're on the same. Phoenix Rising and El Paso Locomotive. So the fact that we dominated in the score against El Paso Locomotive, I think it should have been, let me clarify, it should have been a statement to the rest of the USL that maybe the Toros might be a force to be reckoned with because of the momentum that they were bringing in. And that it seemed like they kind of got their act together at the very last minute, going into the playoffs, and yet Devin Kerr and I don't know who the other 2 pundits were from the USL Championship. Code Awesome brings up a good question. He says, did El Paso use their starters? I don't know their team. Yes, Logan Ketterer, Meshach Jerome, Eder Borelli, Andrew Fox, Richie Ryan, Dylan Mares, Nick Ross, Leandro Carrijo, Diego Luna, and Luis Solignac. Those are all starters for El Paso Locomotive. They went with their A game. They didn't rest key players. They went with their A game, and the Toros limited them. And one thing I did want to bring up, because we were talking, how we were talking about Juan Carlos Azócar coming up. Here's the thing. Remember how I told you how the Toros limited El Paso Locomotive to kind of their own half with their touches? That opened up because of the fact that El Paso Locomotive was not going out and attacking because they couldn't. That gave the freedom for Juan Carlos Azócar to go out and help on the attack. Why is this key? Number one, according to Joe Rodriguez, who's the beat reporter for the Soccer Texas covering El Paso Locomotive, Eder Borelli is a key player to go up and help on the attack. He's pretty much a wing back, right? Well, he wasn't going anywhere. The players were never going anywhere. So what did that do? Bring up Juan Carlos Azocar to help on the attack, and now with even more reason, Eder Borelli is not going to go up and try to help a potential attack. Why? Because he knows that Juan Carlos Azocar, can pretty much, you can't leave the space open for Juan Carlos Azocar to take advantage of it. And if you look at the goals, let me go ahead and put the highlights of this match so you all can see what I'm trying to say. So obviously the first goal was a penalty, a beautiful play by Jonas Jelberg of pretty much playing cat versus mouse with them. He's controlling the ball well, keeping it within his zone in order to not lose the ball, kind of attract that foul. And that's exactly what happened. And Rodrigo Lopez comes in and takes the shot that was so well placed that even though Logan Ketterer had guessed where the ball was going, he wasn't going to get there, right? And so this is the play. This is the second goal. First of all, look at that recovery by Rodrigo Lopez. And then Christian Sorto with the through ball kind of gets behind Edwards, right? But that defender's slide helped out Kyle Edwards, and he just chips it over the keeper. It was an amazing play, and Kyle Edwards, honestly, he is becoming a killer, and I think that if you continue to give him minutes within the USL, I think he's going to be a good prospect out there in the attack. And the goal for Paso Locomotive, basically, I feel like, to me, they left Babukar Jai. It all goes back to his lack of experience playing as a left back, right? So he goes out there to try to mark, the guy that's in the middle. I think that was Solignac. But he never sees that he's got Chapa Herrera and somebody else, Dylan Mares, coming in as well through that side. And so Chapa, takes advantage of that and scores. Now, here's the play. This is where I'm telling you. Juan Carlos Azocar is moving up. Eder Borelli tries to come up to try to stop the play. And then that 1-2 pass, Juan Carlos Azocar beats him with his speed. And Eder Borelli was too slow to react to try to catch what's Juan Carlos Azocar in that stride. And just that play, also that cross by Juan Carlos Azocar, it was just beautiful out in space to give Kyle Edwards a good advantage, to put him in the ball in a position just within space, but also just far away from the keeper so that Logan Ketterer can't go out and intercept it, right? So very good timing. Then the fourth goal, obviously, we go back to talking about the high pressure that the Toros exert. And the great thing about it is that Emilio Icaza, even though Logan Ketterer was coming up to put some pressure on, by the way, look at that Toro celebration. That's just awesome.
Celebration. I thought that was so cool to see.
Oh, it definitely was, man. But as you can see, like, at least from the highlights, you're starting to kind of understand why Paso Locomotive was just, they weren't doing so hot there, considering that they were using their starters. Now, can they replicate this against Phoenix Rising? That is going to be the biggest question. And so now we fast forward into going into this match, and today we had the press conference with Wilmer Cabrera, and I asked him, actually, before I go into that, there is something I did want to talk about it. Maybe you can consider it a rant. Maybe you can consider it, I don't know, just me giving my opinion, right? In that play where Tyler Derrick gets injured, number one, referee, are you such a duty head that you don't stop the play when you notice that the keeper is down on the ground injured? The biggest thing, or one of the the rules as a keeper or as a referee is if you see that the keeper is down injured, you got to stop it no matter what, especially if the ball is in the area of play. Well, guess what? Freaking ball was right next to Tyler Derrick as he's like grabbing his foot because like grimacing in pain. And he's like, oh, yeah, nah. Keep going, keep going. That goal could have been, that play could have been a goal for El Paso, honestly. And it's just, it just boggles my mind how unprepared pro referees are in the United States, in MLS, USL, or NWSL. It's just ridiculous. It's like, it's common sense. It is the basics of refereeing, and they don't even know the basics. Like, what the hell are they doing as professional referees then? Don't understand. What do you think about that, Cesar?
Just gives the European League and the European fans much more fuel to the fire to just make fun of us over here in America. But yeah, that I thought was completely unacceptable as far as the safety of the players go. Maybe ref didn't want to stop the play just to keep it going because El Paso did have a scoring chance, but that shouldn't be the case when the player's safety is concerned. I mean, he's down, he's in pain, he's incredibly close to the play that's going on. And credit to RGV for getting all those bodies in the box to protect the goal and their goalkeeper. But I just thought that was completely ridiculous, stupid even, just to keep the play alive and not worry about, Derek's overall well-being.
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, the referees are out there to implement the rules of the game, number one. And number two, look out for the safety of the player or everybody involved in the game. And it's just, like I said, it's just ridiculous how pro referees just can't seem to get it right week after week. And obviously, I think I also have a bone to pick. You may call me, I don't care if you call me a Karen or whatever, but I also kind of have a bone to pick with the RGVFC or maybe even HEB Park's system when it comes to like the injuries. I don't understand how there was no stretcher available to take Tyler Derrick out of the game, to not try to force him to to walk, number one, and number two, to not allow him to rest it and not have to put his weight on his injured foot. I just thought it was ridiculous how, like, of all the time that he was there lying on the ground, there's no stretcher, right, to cart him out. And I would figure that, considering that Alonso Cantu owns THR, you'd figure that there's bound to be a little stretcher out there in case they need it. I don't think it's going to break Alonso Cantu's bank to have a freaking stretcher available for the RGVFC trainers to deal with injuries like that. It's, come on, there was multiple failures in that aspect. I'm just glad that it wasn't as bad as we thought it was. That injury was. Our Wilmer Cabrera did confirm today at the press conference that they, based on the analysis of Tyler Derrick's injury, there was no fracture of the metatarsal, so that's a good thing. It was pretty much a muscular pain, and that he had evolved favorably in during the week. And he also mentioned that it wouldn't surprise him if he was able to get fit enough to at least dress for Saturday's game. So there is a possibility that Tyler Derrick can play on Saturday, but we'll see exactly how he's able to move on or develop in his recuperation from that injury.
Yeah, all the best of luck to Derek. We're wishing him a speedy recovery. if he's able to play, big bonus. But you know, God willing, he'll return next season if he can't.
That's the thing, Code Awesome. He says, wow, I can't believe a stretcher didn't go out. I know when I've gone to the games, they have an ambulance parked inside the stadium. Well, they have the actual ambulance stretchers. They don't have the plastic ones, the ones where at least you lift them off the ground, to take them to the side of the field or whatever, not the full blown ambulance stretcher when you're going to take them to the hospital, they had that, but the paramedics were not going to take that stretcher for Tyler Derrick for something wrong, with his leg. That's what I'm assuming, because that ambulance stretcher was in that southeast corner of the stadium, and they didn't move at all, to try to help Tyler Derrick. But I think that plastic stretcher, I think would have helped out a lot, and kind of, like I said, not force Tyler Derrick to for him to walk. And that's my opinion. Obviously, you all can have a different opinion about the situation. Maybe you think that, well, maybe I'm kind of overreacting, and I could be overreacting. But honestly, like, when you're in a situation where your goalkeeper is not able to move, is not able to put his weight on walk and put his weight on that foot, the best thing to do is not force him. And, he had to have the other trainers kind of carry him, limping towards the locker room, where you could just, have him lie down, use the stretcher, and, move him over to the locker room or through the side of the field. Right. So I think that maybe RGVFC, maybe Alonso Cantu should kind of look into that, because you never know what's going to happen in the future when it comes to these kind of injuries, right? So you gotta have the correct equipment out there for any kind of scenario. And honestly, it gave a bad image. To me, it gave a bad image when you don't have something as simple as a plastic little stretcher to help out somebody that was injured like that. But overall, it was a really good game. I think they proved the doubters, including myself, wrong. I know a couple of weeks ago I did say I didn't think that the Toros would make it to the playoffs. And even Cesar mentioned at the beginning of the show that things were looking kind of dim for the outlook of the Toros of they making it to the playoffs. But there was a change in mentality going into these last three games. And I know Jelberg mentioned after the game in the press conference, he mentioned that after the game against Colorado Springs, it seemed like they were at a point, the team was at a point where it's like, okay, we're just gonna risk it. We have everything to win and nothing to lose, right? So it felt like when they started taking it like that, it seemed like a weight kind of fell off of their shoulders, and they were able to play a lot more liberated in the last three games, and it was just reflected by the results that they generated. I mean, 9 points out of 9. That's amazing. That's a really, really good performance in the last three games. That was enough to get them into the playoffs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Trying to grab the post game quotes. All right, here we go. So Jonas said, I think after a devastating loss to Colorado, we had no pressure. We had everything to win and nothing to lose. We went into every game thinking that we had to win. Other than that, it's not in our hands anymore. It was up to New Mexico and us involved. We managed to pull it off, and the team had a great time the last few weeks, and now we are on a 3-game winning streak. So, like I said, I don't know exactly what happened in that locker room, but whatever happened, if Jonas Jelberg is correct in that aspect, it worked. It definitely worked. And now we're in the playoffs going up against Phoenix Rising. What are your thoughts on that, Cesar, on Phoenix?
I think right now the morale is actually very, very high for the Toros, to say the least, and hopefully they can build off of that. Um, you know, given their past, given the past results that they've been able to come out with. But like I said before, it did shock me, and I'm pretty sure it shocked the players themselves were shocked at the end results. But hey, at the end of the day, they made playoffs. And that's always been the end goal for the team. And for the 5 long years that this organization has been, to the playoffs, or I think is that the correct word? Like since they've been to the playoffs, there we go. Their first year. Um, what more is there to say other than they did it? Now let's see where they go from here. And with these last 3 wins, hopefully they can build off of that. They always know that they're going to have the support of, the home fans from the valley, us at down in the valley, and especially the Stampede as well. Hopefully they can use that you know to get an end result. And you know bold prediction here is to at least make it to the final.
Oof. I know there were some people saying that their bold prediction was that both Oakland Roots and RGVFC would make it to the final. That is pretty bold right there, because Oakland, I think.
Now, which one? Conference final or USL Championship final?
Conference, because they're both in the West.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So, we talked about going up against Phoenix Rising. I mentioned that I felt like it was a statement win, beating El Paso 4-1. And it seemed like nobody cared within the confines of the USL Championship. I mentioned that just the other day, they were supposed to have a presentation, a live stream on their social media, where Devin Kerr and 2 other pundits were going to kind of preview all of the playoff games. And they went through each and every one. They talked about both the teams involved, except the Phoenix versus RGVFC game. All they talked about was how bad Phoenix was, how they were not good defensively, how offensively they kind of been lacking. Solomon Asante hasn't scored in like 13 weeks or something like that. He's kind of been a ghost this season. And then they're like, oh yeah, but I still think they're gonna win 3-1, or I still think they're gonna go past. That doesn't irk me, right? The fact that they predict that the Toros will lose, that doesn't hurt me, right? Or that does I don't care about that. What grinds my gears is that they think we're so insignificant on a national level that, we're not even gonna bother talking about what the Toros bring to the table to this matchup and see how that compares to Phoenix Rising. Oh no, like it's almost like we didn't even exist, that the Toros didn't even exist. And so I called Devin Kerr out on it, and then he didn't even reply to me directly. He replied to Eddie, one of our patrons. And he's like, well, we only have 90 minutes to talk about these games, and so but we weren't hyping Phoenix Rising. We're criticizing how they were not doing well. And it's like, oh, okay, so that's a lot of words for you to say that even with Phoenix Rising being as crap as you think they are, then we're so insignificant that you were not even going to bother talking about the Toros on a national level. Like nobody cares. It doesn't bring you ratings. It's just one of those games where like, they just managed to make it to the playoffs. Whatever, they're going to be eliminated anyway. Like they don't take the Toros seriously. That's what I'm trying to say.
And given that we were a farm team for the past couple of years, I'm honestly not surprised that people write us off still.
Well, that's what I said. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. Right? But but here's the thing, like I could expect it from other podcasts, fan-based podcasts or anything like that. But from the main announcers and pundits on the USL Championship, I would expect there to be more a better distributed coverage about that, to try to be as unbiased and try to give everybody and every team their place, and try to inform the fans about what they can expect from the Toros. But no, it's like it's all about Phoenix Rising no matter what. Like it's Phoenix Rising, oh, it's that other team, right? And it just really grinded my gears, to be honest. And I hope that the Toros, the team, kind of takes that into motivation to try to get the win against Phoenix Rising, and then be like, ignore us now, bitches.
Speaking of Phoenix Rising, I actually tweeted out before the show to Phoenix Rising Nation, but I wanted to see what they thought, or generally what the Phoenix fans thought about the matchup that's coming. This is a reply from Phoenix Rising Nation. It's a very hard one to call. RGV has been hot, and Rising has been playing soccer games.
Ouch.
Yeah, we always seem to be one or two big mistakes away from almost losing, or quote, should have won.
Why does that sound so familiar?
And I responded, from the last few games that I have been able to see, work permitting, of course, seems that everything goes wrong for the Toros in the last minute.
Yeah, pretty much until these last 3 games where they got their shit together and got their concentration together for the 90 plus minutes, and these are the results. I mean, it's no accident, let's be honest. It's no accident that RGVFC outscored their opponents in those last 3 matches. They outscored them 9-2. 2-0 to New Mexico. 3-1 to Real Monarchs. 4-1 to Paso Locomotive. 9 goals in favor, 2 goals against. It's no fluke, right? Now the biggest question is, how are they going to transfer that to Phoenix, where that the fans are going to be rowdy, the Bandidos and the other supporters groups. It's a very hostile environment where Phoenix Rising are unbeaten in their home at Phoenix Rising Soccer Complex at Wild Horse Pass. So they have their work cut out for them. It's not going to be easy at all. And then I asked Wilmer today in the press conference. I asked him, "Hey, Wilmer, so based on your analysis of Phoenix Rising, what you've seen from Phoenix Rising, what are some of the weaknesses that you've identified, and how will the team be able to use that to their advantage?" And he just kept his cards close to the chest, and he didn't say specifically. He just said, we have a plan that we're going to try to implement on Saturday, and if we go through, that means the plan worked. If we don't win, that means somewhere along the line the plan failed, and we need to figure out what failed, for next season. And I'm just like, I don't know how to take that, right? Because it's like, it's a very valid question. Like, what do you think your team has? What are some of the characteristics your team has to take advantage of the deficits of your opposing team? Because here's the thing about Phoenix Rising, right? Phoenix Rising has scored a lot of goals. They scored 60, I think it's like 67 goals or 62 goals. Let me double check that, because I looked at it. I looked at the stats at the when I was in the press conference. And I even mentioned it to Carter Manley, because I asked him about how is a defensive unit where they're going to limit the offensive power of Phoenix Rising, specifically Santi Mora, who has 16 goals this season. He is their top scorer, and I think it's followed by Solomon Asante with just 8. Solomon Asante with 8 in 25 appearances, and Santi Mora has 16 goals in 32 appearances. So he has a goal every 2 games. And But here's the interesting part about Phoenix Rising, guys. So they have scored, like I said, they have scored in total 68 goals in the season, right? 55 of those goals are inside the box. So most of their power comes, I'm assuming, from crosses into Santimora and taking advantage of it, or plays inside the box. So if you can limit, just like you did against El Paso, if you can limit the amount of opportunities that allows Phoenix Rising to enter your 18-yard box, I think you're on the right path to beating Phoenix Rising SC. I don't know what you think. I mean, do you think it's possible to do that?
Oh yeah. Well, anything's possible, I suppose. But given the fact that Phoenix Rising has had most of their opportunities within the penalty box, we can ask ourselves, what have been the Toros' best chances?
And I can tell you that. Let me pull those. Let me pull that up. Those statistics about RGVFC, because it's a very interesting to see how their opportunities will stack up against each other. Okay, so RGVFC, they have scored only 49 goals. Here's the worst part of it all. Phoenix Rising has scored 13 outside the box. Out of those 49, only 46 of those are inside the box. So they rely too much. They rely a lot on goals from inside the box, right? Crossing in. Right now, if you notice, it's mostly been, driven crosses, low-driven crosses from either Sorto or Azócar towards the striker, whether it's Elvis Amo or Kyle Edwards, and that they can shoot it into the net. So we do have a huge dependency on going inside the net. So it applies to both. But I do think that just the fact, like I said, Phoenix fans mentions that defensively, this team, the Phoenix Rising has lacked in that department this season. They have conceded 42 goals, which is about we conceded 42 goals. The Toros have conceded 42 goals with 7 clean sheets and 4 penalties conceded, right? And Phoenix, on the other hand, they have defensively allowed 35 goals, 10 clean sheets. And yet the Phoenix Rising fans still think that they're lacking on the defensive department. Pretty strange, I know, but that just goes to show how much of a high standard Phoenix Rising is for their fans.
And rightfully so.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're talking about a team that has consistently made it to deep into the playoffs, since their inception as Phoenix Rising. They have they have a high standard to follow. And honestly, this season wasn't, even though they were the best team in the Western Conference, even though they made it, they're undefeated at home, it wasn't enough for them. It wasn't enough for their fans. To the point that they're doubting, like you mentioned, Phoenix Rising Nation mentioned to you, they're doubting that this is going to be an easy game for them, and that they're giving a glimmer of hope for saying that the Toros, maybe they have what it takes to beat Phoenix Rising at home. It's crazy.
It honestly shocked me with that response, because I honestly was not expecting that. But after that, there were some predictions for attendance as well as the score line. But so far, RGVSC fans have not put in their input on that one. So if y'all see that tweet, go in there. It's been all Phoenix Rising so far.
Where can they follow you, man? Where can they follow you on Twitter so they can go put their predictions?
You can follow me on Twitter at court, like the mineral court _easy. And the tweet should be there because it was tweeted about a minute ago, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be an interesting match. Do I feel without beyond a reasonable doubt that the Toros are going to win this? Probably not. At the end of the day, I respect Phoenix Rising too much as a team and what they've grown and what they've done historically in the USL Championship to say that this is going to be an easy game for the Toros, or that maybe it's going to be a winnable game for the Toros. Heck, I want to be surprised. I want to see them go through as much as the next person. But Phoenix Rising is Phoenix Rising, right? And historically our record this season, we only played them once, but it was at Wild Horse Pass, and we lost 3-1. But even then, that 3-1 was a lapse of 15 minutes. Those 3 goals that they scored was a lapse of 15 minutes where the Toros were a disaster, organizationally, tactically, and mentally. And against a team like Phoenix Rising, you can't give them those opportunities. You can't give them those advantages, because they are going to score on you. After that spasm, especially in the second half, where the Toros stopped being conservative in their play and wanted to keep the ball more, possession of the ball more, trying to create opportunities up on top, Phoenix Rising kind of limited themselves to not attack as much often. And in fact, the Toros had some good opportunities to score. They even scored 1 in the second half. Yeah, at the end, for some reason, the coach is like, "Oh, you know what? All of the attackers, you're going to be substituted, and we're going to be putting bench." I don't know if that was a way for them to say like, "Oh yeah, our job here is done," kind of thing. But we'll see what happens on Saturday. Cesar, what's your prediction?
My prediction is 1-1 at the end of regulation and 2-1 in favor of Phoenix. Now, my bold prediction, or we haven't gotten there yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Let me see. USL. Playoff structure. Because I want to see if there is. Okay.
Because they do go into extra time if needed, correct?
That's what I'm trying to see. And I don't see anything. It does say, it says, following the conference quarterfinals round, home advantage will be determined by total points earned, regardless of division rank, for the remainder of the season. But that's home advantage. This says nothing about if there is a extra time involved, or if it goes by the position on the table.
Last I remember, when the Toros played OKC, I know they went into extra
Okay,
time.
here we go. Sorry. I wonder if this is updated. No, this is old.
Oh.
Oh, no, here it is. If a match is level at the end of regulation, extra time shall be played, consisting of 2 15-minute periods, which will be played. Yeah. So, yeah, 15 minutes, which will be played in their entirety. If the score is still level at the end of extra time, that's right. So they go to extra time, and if it's still level, then they'll go to penalties.
Okay.
So there is no like a tiebreaker where it's like, oh, like, you know how in Liga MX it used to be like if there was a tie in aggregate, then they don't go to extra time. It's just like
home field advantage.
No, it's the like their position at the table. That's what grants them the passing on to the next round. But here it's extra time and penalties. So you're saying your regular prediction is 2-1 Phoenix in extra time?
Yes.
I'm going to say 1-0 in regular time for Phoenix.
So
And it's gonna be an amazing match by the Toros. They're gonna fight. They're gonna be able to stop Phoenix for the most part. But then the mistakes that they usually make, it's gonna come bite us at the end. I have a feeling, and that's gonna be the difference for me. So
we've
1-0.
seen it happen before.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna happen again. I hope I'm wrong. I definitely hope I'm wrong.
Yes, please prove us wrong, RGVFC.
But what about your bold prediction? I know you were gonna say it.
Bold prediction. Okay, I think I had this one actually all planned out. So if I remember correctly, what I was planned out was beginning of the 20 minutes in the first half, Phoenix scores, and at the end of the first half, within stoppage time, Toros scored to level it. Toros then go up in the second half, and then score again at the last minute. So 3-2 in favor of Toros.
Okay.
No, 3-1. 3-1 in favor of Toros. Yeah.
Okay. That's a really good bold prediction. My bold prediction is it's going to be level up to penalties. And Tyler Derrick is going to save Salomon Asante's penalty kick to put us in the next round. That's my bold prediction. Toros are going to advance in penalties to the shock of the rest of the USL. Please prove me right in that aspect.
I like that.
It would be so epic. It would be so epic. Like it would just be. By the way, guys, I'm still pending that punishment for doubting on the Toros. So if you guys have any suggestions on what my punishments should be, I know I had mentioned to do the one chip challenge, but apparently it's been discontinued for 2021. So I guess I'm screwed out of that. But if you guys have any suggestions of what my punishments to be, put it in the comments, or you can. Jersey. What?
Who said that?
What? What'd you say?
Rayados jersey.
No, my dad's already doing the Tigres jersey.
Oh, he is? Oh.
Yeah. So, or tweet us out at Down in the RGV or in my personal account at Ochoa_8. But guys, I think this is pretty much it for today's episode. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I know Thursdays are kind of like a weird time to have Down in the Valley when we're so used to doing it on Wednesdays. But I will say there's a lot to look forward to for this Saturday. And honestly, guys, if the Toros don't win, I'm not going to be mad, because the overall, I think the overall goal for the season was making it to the playoffs, and they did. They did. There is a lot to improve. Yes, there is a lot to improve in this offseason, but considering the circumstances, that the fact that they made it to the playoffs, hey, let's be honest, they made it farther than the Dynamo in MLS. So
the mojo has shifted.
So you know what? At the end, time proved the Toros right. To all of the doubters and the people that were kind of, I don't know, they didn't believe in the Toros, right? And it's not a general blanket statement on the Dynamo fans, right? But there were some people that kind of had the thing. I was like, oh, you all guys are nothing without the Houston Dynamo. Well, guess what? We were nothing with the Houston Dynamo. So I don't know how much lower we could get. And in fact, even with, like I mentioned, all the circumstances that happened during the season, I think we proved that we can have our team para el Valle, and show them that this isn't the same Toros. But guys, like I said, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you all hopefully next. We'll see each other next week. Win or lose, we'll be back next week to talk about the Toros game. Hopefully, it's to talk about going up against either San Antonio or San Diego. But
I really hope it's San Antonio.
Definitely, me too. I definitely hope we go up against San Antonio and beat them at Toyota Field. And sorry, Harry, but I know that technically we kind of have the upper hand when it comes to like eliminations. And not as like, you remember 2016 when we eliminated them at the last week of regular season from playoffs.
3-0. Never forget.
Yeah. So, and they're going to have that in the back of their minds if it does happen, and it's just going to be like, all right, here's another one. This time in playoffs, and you know that if we win that game, that puts us in the conference final. That puts us way above what we initially thought was possible with this team. But we'll see what happens. Let's take us a step at a time. And y'all be safe out there. Cesar, thank you so much for coming on the show kind of at the last minute. Really definitely appreciate you coming in, considering your circumstances as well with your monitor. I know you were having issues with it.
If y'all don't know where I'm currently broadcasting from, from my racing simulator right now, but hey, it's only stupid if it doesn't work.
That's true. That is definitely true. But I hope you guys are doing well. Be safe out there, and we'll see you all next week for another episode of the Down on the Valley podcast.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.